Hello, I'm Simon. Welcome back to the workshop. Now this week I'm going to be making a desk tidy, but because everyone has slightly different needs when it comes to desk tidies, the desk tidy I'm going to make is going to be modular so that it can mould to your individual needs. Let's get tinkering. Now I'm going to be making these out of wood, but I've designed them all on a CAD program, so if you wanted to 3D print them, I guess you could do that as well. They're all based around a square design, and the square design is going to have magnets all the way around so they can clip to each other in any fashion you like. You can mix and match the different parts to put them in any order and any shape that you like. Now the square design I've based around needing to fit a 3-inch standard post-it note. So post-it notes are 3 inches by 3 inches on their standard size. That's 76 millimeters by 76 millimeters. So the squares are going to be a little bit larger than that so that I can have a tray that can accept a post-it note, and then all the other trays will be based around that size. Now it doesn't really matter what wood you use, you're probably better off not starting from where I'm starting off, which is an old piece of second-hand wood which is probably 100 years old. This piece of wood, I'm not sure if it's been stained or if this is its natural colour, and it looks like it might have been a sign in the past. It's actually made of 3 separate boards that have been spliced together, and it has stamped on it no entry, and it says to enter, and then the rest is garbled. It also looks like it was stuck to the back of something, because I can see sort of bits of old glue and so on the back of this. So I'm going to start by getting this piece of board into a good state so that the rest of the project can be built. But if you want to make it out of pine, then go ahead and do so. Now I need to create my own straight edge, as there aren't really any that are straight enough to cut on the table saw, and because it's quite a large piece of wood, I'm actually using the edge of the table saw as a reference, and I'm using this straight edge which is clamped to the piece of wood, and that will then give me a nice straight reference to cut against. And now I have that straight reference, I can use the fence to rip this board to 86 millimeters wide. In terms of dimensions, I guess the one dimension you need to think about if you're going to make this is the depth of the wood. This piece of wood is 30 millimeters thick. By the time I finish planing it and getting it ready to use, it'll probably be about 25 millimeters thick. So you want something about 1 inch thick. Well, this looks like a lovely piece of wood. It's got a really nice grain and a lot of detail. If anyone knows what it might be, then let me know in the comments. Like I say, it's about 100 years old, so it could be wood that you're no longer allowed to use. But if you do know what it is from your own experience, then let me know. Thanks very much. I'll now pass it through to planer thicknesser to clean up the surface. I'll now cut this board into squares. I'm just going to cut the end off first to avoid that large hole where a screw once was. There are a few imperfections in the wood, a few little nail holes, and I'll deal with them as and when they become a problem. Now you should never use the mitre fence and the rip fence at the same time, because you risk the wood becoming trapped between the blade and the rip fence. So I've set up a little stop block so that when I push the wood with the mitre fence into the blade, there's about 1 inch of space between the edge of the wood and the fence. And this is a safer way to cut this piece of wood so it doesn't get trapped. And it means I can consistently cut all the pieces so that they're exactly the same length. It's my project, so I'm allowed to change my mind, and I've decided that rather than make these modular and snap together with magnets, actually 3 of these in a row is a bit bulky, and they might be better arranged around a desk rather than all in one lump together. Either, the idea was that you could arrange them like that, or you could snap them together like that with the magnets. But I'm sort of thinking they might be better just arranged where you can fit them on the desk and them just all be the same style. That does mean they're a little bit easier to make because I haven't got to drill the holes. But if you still want to make them so that they are magnetic and snap together, then you just need to remember that the distance between the two magnets has to be double the distance from the center of the magnet to the outside edge. That then means that when they're put together, the magnets here and here have exactly the same distance as the magnets here and here, which then enables you to snap them in the middle as well, like that, if you wanted to. But as I say, I've decided I'm going to make them all just independent little desk tidies that all have the same styling and therefore all match and fit together on the desk. I'm finding it really handy having this workshop computer. So easy just to pull up diagrams and put measurements on them in an impromptu way so that you know exactly what measurements you need to make the things. I haven't got to go into the house, use my laptop, write stuff down on a pad and come back out. I can just open up the file on this, and if the measurement isn't there, I just add it. If you want to know how I made this, then I'll stick a link to the video in the description. So this is going to be a phone stand, and I need a slot at the back to be angled backwards so that when the phone is in the stand, you can see the display. So I've angled the blade to 65 degrees, and I've set it up so that the hole should start about 10mm from the back and should go through 15mm of the wood, leaving about 10mm behind. I'm going to go backwards and forwards, adjusting the wood slightly each time so that I get a cut that's about 10mm wide. Okay, so this was a bit of a design flaw. I quite like the angle, I think that's perfect for sitting down at a desk. The problem is it's a little bit too back heavy. And this, whilst this is a large phone, probably larger than most phones that go in there, it's just a little bit too back heavy. I think I need to bring the slot forwards to about halfway so that the centre of gravity is inside this base. I think what's happening here is the centre of gravity is just falling just outside the base, or right on the edge of the base. And I think if I just bring it forward, perhaps to the middle, it'll be fine. So I'll have to change the design, and this piece of wood will live to become a different project. So this one fits a lot nicer. I'll take the phone off and put it in. There's no rocking now. It's just a much nicer fit. Just going to finish the bottom of this hole with a chisel just to get rid of the saw marks. I'll set the blade to 45 degrees and then add a bevel. The safest way of doing this would be to keep the riving knife in and the crown guard on, but it's a bit fiddly for this particular cut to cut bevels with the crown guard on, and you end up having a lot more of the blade exposed. So I prefer to do it like this, but I'm not advocating that you do it the same way. One thing worth noting is that I cut a cross grain first so that any chip out would be removed when I then cut along the grain. While the table saw is set up, I'll cut the bevels on the next piece. The holes I need to drill in my design are 10, 9 and 8mm. I can't actually find a 9mm brad point bit, so I'm just going to do them at 10 and 8mm instead. And if I find that I need a 9mm hole, I can always bore it out later. I'm using my pillar drill to make sure that the holes go square, and to help me with the accuracy. I've also set up the depth stop, which was missing on this drill and that I had to make myself by 3D printing some parts. I have a video on that if you're interested. I realise if I add a fence to the back of the table, then I can reduce the degrees of freedom to just one dimension, and that should make for a more accurate set of cuts. Finally, I add a small countersink. I now add a slot which will be used as a photograph holder. If you're still watching, why not click that thumbs up? Go on, you know you want to. I sand and then finish with a couple of coats of Danish oil. Now with everything finished, I can now add some sticky back felt to the base of each piece. Well, I think I'll finish this video here with these two pieces finished. I fully intend to make another video where I build a few more pieces in this desk tidy set, so look out for that. If you're interested in my tool tote, then I'll leave a video to it up there. And if you're interested in my oscilloscope stroke workshop computer stroke cyber deck, then there'll be one over there. If you've got any questions or you know what this wood is, then please leave them in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, please leave a thumbs up. If you have enjoyed this video, then please consider sharing it with someone else you think might like it. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.